Funding for Off 90 is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
Coming up on this episode of Off 90, Spring Grove is one of the first Norwegian settlements in the state. See how their heritage is being kept alive. See the history of farming come to life in Waseca and get a taste of what it was like to be a pioneer. And come with us as we explore Austin, its history, present, and future. It's all just ahead, Off 90. Hi, I'm Barbara Keith. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Off 90. Velkommen til Spring Grove. That's what organizers of the Norwegian language camp said to kids from all over the state who came to Spring Grove to learn about Norwegian culture. Spring Grove claims to be the first settlement of Norwegians in the state, which seems like a good place to learn about Minnesota's Norwegian heritage. Mange tusen takk.
Very strong Norwegian background, and I think it's important that my daughter understands the culture of where she came from.
I did learn many new things. I learned how to say some Norwegian words, and I learned how to make flatbread and krumkake.
I'm Karen Gray, and I'm the coordinator for the Norwegian Ridge Language Camp here in Spring Grove.
Krabbe, eple, tre. Can you say that? Krabbe, eple, tre.
When we moved here in 1965, you heard Norwegian on the street all the time. People were still speaking it at that time. Now you can still hear some, but it's more rare. Spring Grove is the first Norwegian settlement in Minnesota. The immigrants came here before they went anywhere else in our state. And at that time it was called Norwegian Ridge. It was not called Spring Grove. And so we thought, this is a real fit. You know, we can follow our mission, we can carry it out, we can do it in the oldest immigrant settlement in the state of Minnesota. And so we did.
Do you know how to say geese in Norwegian? No. Gåse. Gåse.
We had quite a wonderful set of instructors for these children to experience, and many of them, almost all of them, have ties to Spring Grove, so that was special. We were really fortunate. Katrina Myra came to the States as an exchange student, and she fell in love and married and lives here now.
Katrina, jeg heter Anna-Li. Hva heter du? Jeg heter Freya. Hvor gammel du?
I have lived in Spring Grove for 18 years. I am originally from Norway. I grew up in Kongsberg, and my family is still all there. My sister, my mom, dad. I came over here and in '86 as an exchange student, decided that I needed to come back in '94, which I did, milk cows for 7 months. And then I decided, you know, farmers are awesome, but I'm going to college for graphic design. And then I met my now husband, and 3 kids later, here I am. The structure of my lessons would be that we started with the Norwegian language in the morning when you're fresh, you're awake, and you want to learn. And then we'd go on to learning a craft later on in the day. And the students that I had were fabulous. They had lots of questions and they wanted to learn. Norwegian is a very complicated language in the sense that I've had some Norwegian classes throughout the starting last year, and it's a very complicated language, I think, to teach. because there's a lot of complexity, a lot of words that mean many different things, and that makes it just a little complicated. Then you throw on top of that the different dialects. There's over 300 different dialects in Norway alone. I think it's important to teach any kind of cultural heritage, language, whatever it is, customs, traditions of whatever language you have for a background or culture you have for a background. Obviously here in Spring Grove it's Norwegian, and you know, we all come from someplace, and I think it's important to know where you come from, and in the sense of learning who you are and why you're here and all those things. So absolutely think Norwegian is important to teach our kids.
Takk, mange takk. Mange tusen takk.
Hei, jeg heter Katrine. Hva heter du? And then they would answer back, Hei, jeg heter Marit.
I learned what Rumagrot is.
Gratulera means congratulations.
Ufta.
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 We chose warm, friendly people who would be able to recognize those symptoms and who could help the children to feel right at home. And that happened in all the cases. And I believe that every host family we had this year would be a host family again next year. If you know Norwegians really well, at least the Minnesota Norwegians who live near Spring Grove, you'll discover that they tend to be a little shy about volunteering. And so they were sought out and chosen on the basis of having raised children of their own, having some knowledge of Norwegian language. Some of them spoke Norwegian to the children at home all the time. Some did not. But they were chosen because we knew them inside and out, and we knew that they would be an excellent host family.
I'm Dennis Gulbranson.
And I'm Barb Gulbranson, and we're hosting the children for the Norwegian language camp.
We've got a house with a lot of bedrooms and nobody in them. Barb just offered to host as many kids as they wanted, and it was started out with maybe two children, and then all of a sudden we found out that we were getting teenagers, and then we found out that we were possibly getting 5 teenagers.
Yeah.
But it ended up being 4, and we do have one 9-year-old, and the others are teenagers.
We talked about that last night. I said, would you do it again? And he said yes.
My favorite memory is probably just hanging out with my host family or my group, because we had a lot of fun and I got along really well with everyone. When I was hanging out with my host family, we talked about the day and sort of what was happening next and what we do.
It was really fun hanging out with my host family because they were really nice and we got to know them really well.
I wanted to come here because I'm a little part Norwegian. I thought it would be kind of fun to learn about my heritage. It was actually quite fun. My host family was really cool because I could eat ice cream.
I loved staying with my host family. I had not met the Gulbransons before, but my mother did know them, and so it was really fun. We had a lot of good times with ice cream and snacks, and we had a lot of conversation, which was really special to me. I definitely would suggest this camp to other people because you not only meet new people, I met several people from all around Minnesota, even in Iowa, that I never would have thought of meeting before this camp. And also you get to share a common bond with them through the Norwegian language and the culture of it.
Farming has changed drastically since settlers first moved into the state 160 years ago. Farm America in Waseca strives to showcase that change. At Farm America, you can learn how farming has changed throughout the history of Minnesota and experience firsthand what the people of the past, who could have been your ancestors, did and saw.
Farm America is a place and it's a dream, it's a vision to tell the story of agriculture from settlement times to the present and into the future. The distance between the farm and food on the dinner plate seems to be growing, and that gap is growing every year, and it's so important that people recognize there is a connection between the land that they drive over or pass and the food that's on their dinner plate, that we really want to make sure that these kids are asking the right questions in the future.
Agriculture is really important in this country and important to all people. And if we're going to feed people, we need to know about agriculture and how it's developed and how it's carried forward. And so that's the reason for Farm America. We have people that make policies for agriculture, and it's tough to make good policies if you don't understand where your food comes from in the first place. And so that's the primary reason why we make sure we have school tours, we have camps, we have festivals, we have events to tell the story of agriculture, past, present, and future.
Farm America began in 1978 when the Minnesota State Legislature named this location as the Minnesota Agricultural Interpretive Center. This fell on the heels of the biennial celebration of this country's existence in 1976. And the powers that be said we really ought to have some continuing reminder of our roots and what really were the economic underpinnings of Minnesota's society. So at the Forest History Center at Grand Rapids and the Agricultural Interpretive Center here were the two designated by the state for that continuing purpose as a public-private partnership. This 160 years or so that's represented here really is an important story of Upper Midwest agriculture and rural life. But as we move to the mile-long Tyne Lane Road, we enter the prairie, and it's more like the settlers, first settlers, would have experienced back in the early to mid 1800s. People really located their farms, their places to live, near water sources. You'll find on our prairie that we do have a water source and wetlands and other things. We also have an area that we call Peddler's Grove, where folks that were native to this area prior to settlement actually came and did their trading and so forth. We have a one-room schoolhouse here and a church that was moved here from near New Ulm. For us, that's about 60 miles. And that congregation supports that church even today. We do have a blacksmith shop and a feed mill. And we, of course, grow corn and soybeans here. The school gives way to our 1930s farmstead, and the Depression era grew out of something that was pretty fabulous in agriculture and rural life in the whole country. But the Depression took the wind out of those sails. And so understanding being out in the country without electricity and having livestock that needed to be milked and fed and this kind of thing, and not being able to turn on the TV set at will. Those are kinds of things that a lot of kids, adults too, can hardly fathom.
Good morning, campers.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And that's what we have interpreters for, all volunteers, to tell that story, not just by looking at a building or looking at a place, but living it through the studied experiences of people that are willing to tell that story.
I'm just thrilled to see them here and be so excited about having a chance to ride in a tractor, having a picture taken with a tractor, and learning what agriculture is really all about. They get the idea that it just doesn't come from the grocery store, that there are farmers out on the land that are growing those crops and those animals, and that it's really exciting to see that happen. And it really gives you hope that the future of agriculture is good and people will understand it.
What makes up the story of a city? A city is a living thing. It goes through the same patterns of life that people do. It goes through growth spurts, it learns and adapts to changes, and hopefully it continues to survive and develop. Learn about the story of Austin, how it came to be where it is now, and what its future holds.
The people here are easy to get to know. They care about their neighbors, and they take care of each other. You know, when we talk about Austin, we always start with the people. It goes back a long time. You know, I used to be that the Hormel Foods Company promoted themselves as a place where good people make great food. And that's kind of continued. In our own community profile, we talk about Austin being someplace special, and it's someplace special because of the people.
I have all different kinds of groups that come and tour Austin, from preschools and daycares to senior citizen groups. All different types of people, all different types of groups traveling from all across the United States, and even some from out of the country. Most groups come to Austin knowing that we have the Spam Museum, or Spam Town, USA, and once they get here, they realize how many different attractions we have to offer and great places to eat, and the nature center. There's just so much more in Austin than they realize until they get here.
Austin was founded in 1853. Hunter Clark and Austin Nichols came to this area. Hunter Clark was more Lansing Township, up where Oakwood Cemetery was, but Austin Nichols actually staked a claim closer to the Cedar River in the area where Austin Utilities is now and City Hall is. They kind of lived with each other. Nichols was a frontiersman, bachelor. He had been in the area hunting, so he kind of liked the area. Decided to stake a claim. He stayed with Hunter Clark, is believed, through the winter while his cabin was being built, and then moved into his own cabin. So the city grew from there. Eventually, Chauncey Leverett shows up in 1854 and buys Austin Nichols' claim and builds a sawmill right on the Cedar River, kind of in the area where the Austin City Employees Credit Union is now. So that was the first business, and that's how the town was actually founded. population-wise, we start seeing from 1870 all the way up until 1960 a huge population boom in the Austin area. For about 100 years, the population finally peaked in 1960. I think a lot of that you start seeing is as things are developing, Austin is now the county seat, so more businesses are coming to this area. And then, of course, with the bringing on of Hormel in 1891, you know, when George started the company, as the packing house grew and grew and grew, I think that's when you see more people moving to the area because there's jobs, there's good jobs, and you just keep seeing Austin develop along that lines.
I think people from outside our community see us as a big, small town. I think, you know, if you talk to new residents or people that just arrived in Austin, you know, they look around our community and they see lots of trees, nice parks, things of that nature. But what comes through to them is the people, again, and the welcoming atmosphere the community has. So I think that's a pretty positive overall impression. Of course, we're also known for Hormel Foods and Spam, and when you look at us, when people from Chicago or around the world, that is the most likely reason they're going to recognize where Austin, Minnesota is and what we do here. I guess when you live in southern Minnesota, I think you're most proud of the fact that in this area, we're very close to the land. We're very close to nature, and we understand food and how food and the growth of food, you know, supports the economy and feeds the world. Here in Mower County or whatever, we've gone through some very good years for agriculture, unusually good years for agriculture, and that shows up in our community. I think that's a great source of pride. I think Austin has great potential. I think we are in a point in time in our economy when people are recognizing the value of food. As the world economy grows, the importance of food throughout the world is going to grow with it. And as emerging economies have more money to spend on food, those that produce it, such as we do here in Austin and Mower County, will benefit from that. So I think you could easily foresee a future where agribusiness was leading us in the next few decades in the growth in our U.S. economy.
We're moving forward, we're a growing city, absolutely, and the more we can get the word out, the happier I am, and that's kind of my job anyway. We're still fighting the image of the strike in the mid-'80s. You know, when companies talk about coming to Austin, that's one of their concerns, and we try and tell them, you know, that's not Austin anymore. You know, we're a pretty cohesive town, we're a progressive town, we're a blue-collar town. There's no doubt about that. We're proud of that fact too. But we're progressive. We're moving forward. We have a lot of things in Austin. We have things in Austin that cities, 1 million people in population would be proud to have, like the Hormel Institute and the Hormel Foundation, and Austin has a lot going for it. Well, I think the future of Austin is being written right now. Obviously, I think I'd like to see other businesses come in. You know, we do have smaller businesses coming in. The first thing I learned when I became mayor is they say 85% of your growth is going to come from within your existing businesses. So either we hit that home run and get some big business coming to town, or we keep growing the businesses we have. We want to be a business-friendly city. We want to keep taxes low. That's probably the two main challenges we have is, you know, keeping taxes low and promoting business and jobs, because along with businesses come good jobs. The way the Hormel Company goes is the way Austin goes, for better or worse. Right now the Hormel Company's doing good, and we've done good because of it. We're going to be a much more immigrant city. You know, we're going to be a mixed city. We are a mixed city, and that's not going to go away. The state of the city is good right now. I think our taxes are low. We're 224th out of 226 cities per capita tax-wise in the state of Minnesota. Our income levels, you know, we're not as high as some cities as far as income levels, but you know, our unemployment is under 5%. Our schools are growing. We grew by almost 2,000 people in the last census. Everything's looking good for Austin right now. There's jobs, there's employment.
That's all for this episode. See you next time. Off 90.
Funding for Off 90 is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.